Hi, this is Zak Mir with the weekend edition of the Bulletin Board Heroes here at Vox Markets. It's Saturday, the 14th of August, and the focus here on Aquis stocks. Yes, I know that's not everyone's cup of tea, but here we are anyway. And starting off with Altona, and here you can see there's been a pretty good August to date for the shares. A little bear trap there below the June floor. That was around, the 8.5 pence level, so we just dipped below that and then snapped back. Resistance line broken there at 10.5 pence and almost vertical move since. The other feature to note at the moment is that high from back in March at 14.7 pence, so above that, looking for the rising resistance line up to 22 pence, maybe to be hit as soon as the end of next month. And the way things are going, even by the end of this month. So at this stage, only really back below 12 pence, that late June peak really delaying the upside scenario. Moving along to a stock which never heard of before, which I suppose fits in with the Aquis experience, but Boanerges, here we've got the situation where we've got a rising trend channel that's been in place since May. Obviously, that's a guess in terms of where the top of the channel is, but at the moment, looks as though we're heading to 65 pence. The gap higher at the beginning of the month was the trigger, the technical trigger, so that was through 32 pence, and the longer we remain above 32 pence and that gap remains unfilled, the greater the chance of a move to 65 pence as soon as the end of next month. Stock which had quite a flurry earlier in the year with the digital assets boom was Coincidium. Here it is. Here we had a situation where there was a spike up towards the, 35 pence intraday. Since then, though, since March, we've had a consolidation, a couple of full storms as well. So there was one towards the 15 pence area last month. Current situation, I suppose the minimum requirement here, we need a decent close above 10 pence. If you're fussy, you want to see a break of that resistance line from April at 12 pence. And hopefully above that, if we can break that over the next few weeks or maybe during August, then that would set up a 2 to 3 month target as high as 25 pence for the shares at the top of that rising December trend channel. So basically 10, 12 and then possibly up to 25 on the cards if Coincidium can sort itself out. Stock which could be described as the king of Aquis, KR1. Fantastic story, both fundamentally and in terms of the chart. Here we've had a situation where obviously we had that February peak for the stock through £2.60. Since then we've been consolidating, bounced off the 200-day moving average last month. That was around the 96, 97 pence area. And we've also broken back above the 50-day moving average in that line of resistance from February around £1.32. Longer we stay above that area, the greater the chance of a retest of the initial resistance of the year, so back to 260 maybe by the end of next month, the way things are going, especially if we can hold above that old £1.47 peak, the last peak from July. So above 147, then maybe we could have a best case scenario where shares of KR1 retest 260 by the end of next month. Obviously, we know the stock, when it moves well. A new name, largely because the company changed its name, but Oscillate is the company here with the MUSH ticker code. Not quite sure why that's the case there. Maybe somebody can write in and tell me. But here with Oscillate, we've had a break of that resistance line there from the end of April. That was around the 2.1 pence level, so just at the turn of the month. Ideally now we stay above the 50-day moving average at 2.25, and that would hopefully then lead back to a retest of the best levels of April back up towards 4p. So above 2.25, looking for 4p on Oscillate at the moment. On to a stock which is one of the poster childs of how not to float a company in terms of the price action that we've had there. Day one, we had the shares at 8p and never quite been the same since for Entity Investments, but a line of resistance has been broken there from April, so that's around the 2.5 pence level. So if you are a bull of the shares and you've been stuck in this one, you want to hope that the shares remain above 2.5 pence for as long as possible, and ideally above the 50-day line at 2.75, which may be possible too. If we can achieve that for the rest of the month, staying above 2.5 pence, then there's a chance maybe of a recovery back towards the 4 pence area, which is the current area of the 200-day moving average. But obviously not much to go on there, and not a great experience so far, despite the glimmers of hope in terms of that trend line break Rather easier situation comes in the form of Oberon investments. Here we've got a rising trend channel since February. Top of the channel there, heading towards let's call it the 6 pence area, maybe a bit more actually if you adjust that, but let's say the 6 pence area, and that's valid while we hold above the basically the 200-day moving average at 3.8. So it looks like a reasonable rising formation for Oberon at the moment. Good news this week from Sativa, and the shares have responded in kind. A gap through the 50-day moving average, always a decent technical event or charting event, and also breaking that line of resistance there from February around 4.25 pence. We can make it to the end of the month above the resistance line, then one would be looking for 6 to 6.5 perhaps by the end of next month, with the backing of that gap to the upside. We also had a gap for the shares unfilled in February, and that's remained unfilled even though we've had quite a big retracement there for the shares. So that does suggest that there is sort of ammo in terms of the bull argument in Sativa. Finishing off with I think what is still probably the biggest riser on Aquis so far this year, Valerian blockchain. Here we're still consolidating around this upper 30s, low 40s area. 50 and 200-day moving average is still rising well. We did actually break that line of resistance from June around the, so I suppose 40 pence level earlier this month. Be good to see more support tests for the shares on this all-important April uptrend line. That's at 37 pence. So the longer we stay above 37 pence and hug that support line, the more we can look forward to the shares eventually trying to retest the best levels of the year to date towards 80 pence. If you're cautious and you don't want to get sort of caught up in the minor movements that we get at the moment, then maybe wait for an end of day close above the 50-day moving average at 48 pence before targeting a retest of the highs. That may be a reasonable enough trigger point for the shares, and also look out for the RSI getting back above the 50 level, neutral 50 level. As you can see, it's been at or below 50 since the shares started. Well, they peaked out there at 65 pence. So the 50 plus RSI there would really help the cause for Valerian. That's it for me today. More updates from Monday.